Hi, everybody. And so today I want to talk about a subject that I haven't talked about a lot before, which is JavaScript. And then, so if you see a lot of my videos, it's all about Python. I encourage people, if you want to get into machine learning, into AI overall, the very first thing that you want to do is to get into Python. But when it comes to actually doing anything with your AI models, like talking to them up front, giving them an actual like user interface, uh, making them into an app, anything along those lines, you're going to want to move away from Python. And then up front, there'll be people that will say, hey, well, you can do these things in Python. And yes, you can. So uh, I was taught early on in my like technical career and technology career that pretty much anything that you can fathom that you want to do with technology, you can do it within technology. It's just how much is it going to cost you? Like, is it going to cost you the price of a yacht? If you're willing to invest like billions or trillions of dollars, you can get to a AGI. I mean, that's the what we're looking at, literally in the status quo. So it's just a matter of how much you're willing to invest is always going to be the answer of someone that is good and knows what they're doing within this particular field overall. But diving into that deeper, uh, there's problems with utilizing Python up front. And then so the first one is that it's a lot slower. It's like not scalable or reliable, and it's a lot less secure. That's the biggest one for me, right? As for any corporate enterprise whatsoever, if you want to like have a Python front end interface, like you're exposing your back end, and there's just no way around that, right? And there's a lot of insecurities and vulnerabilities just by doing that alone. So just to me up front, that rules that out as an option up front. So that brings us to JavaScript, and then so to me, I always think of and I always say that like my moat within AI and machine learning is simply knowing these things, right? To me, it's an endurance race overall. It's a matter of, to me, you get to stumbling blocks, right? Like, so the first stumbling block is like the mathematics behind it and understanding that, and that can be difficult. And the second stumbling block is understanding Python. And then the third stumbling block is understanding more than like LLM models and how they operate and understanding different types of AI. And then the fourth stumbling block is that Python isn't going to get you where you need to go, and you need to learn much more and far more programming languages than Python. It's like the ultimate and like final like gotcha at the end, right? And then so it's and you get into what we're looking at here, which is like JavaScript, right? And then so this video is designed to just give you a simple overview of JavaScript and what you can uh, kind of expect up front. Like, this is designed to be like as user friendly and upfront of introduction to JavaScript as possible. And what my ultimate goal here is to give you the like why, right? Why should you be doing this? And then so that's what I've started off with on kind of the big technical reasons. Like, the technical reasons why you should care about this is because you are kind of forced into JavaScript. And you'll find no matter what you go into it, if you want to actually make an app, if you want to serve this, if you want a front end interface of any kind of interacting with your AI models, you're gonna run into JavaScript. So let's just get that. Like, that's just the like, and you want it to be scalable and secure on any level. So here we are. And then so with JavaScript overall, that essentially brings us to a few things. So once we've made that determination that we need and we want to go into JavaScript, the next determination is how exactly do we want to do this? So there's two things that we can do, or two that kind of layers that we can go into. And then so the best way to break these down to me are that the going with the like single serve website, like the fully served website, which I'm going to show you here up front, and which we're looking at kind of here this whole time with this high. This is the it's not WYSIWYG, like, because it's not like code free, but this is the less this is the like if, believe it or not, the like friendlier solution, the easier solution, right? And then the more complex solution would be something like a full-on framework, like React, which we'll talk about and we'll get into a little bit. And then I'll also get into the reasons why you don't necessarily want to use React for something like this, and then why this framework here that we're looking at here is far more simplistic and better for what we're looking at here. So essentially what we're looking at here at the end of the day is a very simple website like that's being hosted currently right now locally on my computer, and then I could host this website on anything, right? And then if I hosted this website on any web page, this is exactly what the output would be, but I can adjust it. And right now it's I have full control over this, right? And then so this is being built out, and it's very simple lines of code, pretty much like once you get into it. And then so this is utilizing terminal. And then so up front, this is currently right now I'm utilizing a MacBook Air. So this is running on Mac OS. And then there's a lot of reasons why I prefer that. Like it's just easier than like when we get into a lot of these things and some of these things to utilize Mac as far as like the back end development of these things. And then so you'll see in a lot of my videos, it's either Mac OS or Linux sometimes as well. But that's just my preference of these things overall. And then so getting into this, so essentially within Terminal, if you're not familiar with Terminal, it's just an app. It's like, think of it like your command prompt, like command terminal in Windows. And then for Terminal, you just essentially start off by installing this. It's what it's called, where I'm looking at here is 11T. And then I have it somewhere here, sorry. There we go. And then so this is the 11T website. And then so 11T is just essentially what we're utilizing to create a static web page. And then I just essentially followed the instructions here on their website, just very straightforward. In Terminal, created a directory, literally just copied and pasted the code, copy, paste, installing 11T, running it, creating templates, gazing upon our templates. And then I didn't do step 6 and 7, which are putting it online and then continuing it from there. But so you can see that the last step here is that it hosts it at a server host to local number 880, which is here. And then the output is hi. There it is, hi. And then so this is like a bottom line, real basic, how you can essentially do this. So to make this very clear, what we want to do within this is essentially call our AI models utilizing JavaScript, so a front end language. And then so in a lot of instances, so the main programming language that I'm referring to in this video and utilizing and thinking of for all of this when I build this out is transformers.js. And then so if you're familiar with transformers, it's the Hugging Face, essentially their inference endpoints. And then so if you train a model or you have a model or anything like that, you can have it very specifically on Hugging Face and then on an inference endpoint. And then so like this would be Llama 3B, and then so you could use in transformers. And then so this is for utilizing it in typical transformers, but then so the only difference between utilizing it in typical transformers here and then what we're doing is we would want to utilize it in transformers.js, right, which is JavaScript, whereas this is Python. And then so if you're familiar with Python, this is really simple, easy to use, and make lots of videos as far as how you can do this, right, and utilize this code for Python, which is very straightforward. But in this example and in this video, like we want to get it to an actual like usable front end endpoint and not a research endpoint. And then so with that, we want to get it into JavaScript. And then so we want to be calling this model from JavaScript. And then so all that we really want to do then at the end of the day with what we're doing with our JavaScript build out within like what we're building out here within our terminal instance and all of this terminal code and the 11T and all of that is we just want to make an API call from our terminal instance to call this endpoint, right? This tokenizer and this model, just like we would in Python. So if you are already familiar with Python, you've already taken that step. This is just learning a slightly different way to do what you've already learned to do at the end of the day, right? So that makes it a lot easier to me to learn. And so, like, if you already know how to do this in one language, you can, and you know how to do it in a back-end language, you can learn how to do it in a front-end language. I understand that it's difficult because you're looking at it all again from like all of these new angles, and I don't understand it, etc. Right? But so I get all of that. But so this is, if you've already learned it once, it's easy to go through it once you've learned it and then go through it again. So this is essentially breakdown of that for you, and then going through the Llama model, and then in this instance of calling the Llama model, and then utilizing essentially what I've showed you, the most easy framework within this instance. But then I mentioned earlier that there's kind of a like a more a different framework that you can utilize, which would be React, right? And then so that's the framework that we're looking at here. And then so in this instance, this is an app that I've made in React, and then React Native. If you're not familiar with React, React is very straightforward, because the cool thing with React is that you can build in JavaScript, and it's a framework that, so you build it and it's good for web, for iOS, and for Android. So if you want to build one app that's across all three, you can build it one time in React and you're good to go. Whereas with this, what we've been looking at before with this 11T and upfront with all of that, it's really just for web, right? You're going to get a web app out of that. And then, but so within React, so this is a more complex framework to get into. It looks less complex, right? Because so essentially with React, and you'll see here, we've got essentially our code, and then it will look nicer because it's in this web interface. But it's actually, at the end of the day, we're looking at a lot more code here at the end of the day than what we have in our terminal. When you actually like look at this and you compare this to this, there's actually more here than there is here, but it's structured nicer, so you might not see that up front. And then all this does really is essentially it makes an API call to the example API call within this, and then you can see it will change based off of the API call that it's pinging, and it will change to different text. And I don't read French, so I don't know exactly what the text is that it's pinging back, but you can see that it does retrieve and change the text that it retrieves and brings back. But so within this, at the end of the day, like at the end of the day, this is what we want to set up, right? It's just a API call where we're pinging the model and getting it back. And then at the back end, we've dealt with that, we're assuming, at this point of the process, right? And then it's already on an inference endpoint, like a Hugging Face in this particular instance with transformers. And then we're just pinging that inference endpoint. And then so we just want to essentially make an API call within our web page. And then so this is the simplest and easiest way to do it. And then so you can utilize this React framework that we're looking at here, but even simpler and more secure would be what we've been looking at, which is the 11T framework. And then going back, to the web page here of hi, and then our terminal with all of the essentially code that got us to hi here. And then so very straightforward overall. I'll leave this video here. I plan to make more in-depth videos into JavaScript, but I kind of want to, so if this video is like if you're at a point where you've started, you're maybe intermediate now at this point with regards towards Python and regards towards all of this, and you're getting like kind of like a little bit hyper, maybe you've looked at to like Django, Flask, things like that, and then you want to start building out apps, but you realize that Django and Flask and like all the ones that I mentioned there's reasons they're not scalable, right? If you want one app, sure, and you don't really care about security, it's not your biggest concern, sure, but like there's reason, like there's once you start getting into this, again, there's reasons why you want to go with JavaScript, and then so within that you're going to get into kind of your first of all limitations there, and then so the first one is do you want to go with like transformers.js, which I've been talking about here, or you can go with other framework like other like AWS or other inference that like servers, right? It's already posted on their server, and then you're pinging it. But then on the back end, then your next question is do you want to go this easy route, or do you want to go the harder route with React, and then build it out for all three? And then that question really boils down to me is, do you really need and want to build those two mobile apps? If you do, then you're looking at the React route. If you don't, then it's really simple. You can do it with this MacBook Air and kind of what you're looking at here on the screen, and this whole process that I've shown you with like 11T, which is all open source and easy to use, and walk through and learn if you already know Python overall. So if you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.